Hi everyone, thank you for coming over to the Nashua Public Library tonight. We're glad that you're here for the Alderman Ward Candidates Forum. My name is Holly and I'm the Assistant Librarian of Programming and Marketing. Next Thursday, October 26th, is the final election forum at the library for the Board of Education. That will take place in the Chandler Wing at 6:30, which is right around the corner from the theater. We hope to see you there. Thank you to the League of Women Voters of New Hampshire, our partners for this nonpartisan event. And thank you to Nashua Public Television for live streaming and recording tonight's program. You'll be able to watch the recording on Channel 6 or at brbtv.live tomorrow. Now let me turn things over to David Alcox, tonight's forum moderator.
Hi, thank you all. We're certainly delighted to have a august audience such as yourself to see these great candidates as we discuss issues about Nashua. Basically, to give you an idea, I want to thank the League of Women Voters, or a nonpartisan league, to encourage the informed and active participation for citizens in government. And this forum is in that spirit to give voters a chance to identify their issues. We also like to thank the National Public Library. I'd like to thank George who's doing the videoing, and on Channel 6 in the next 24 hours, I believe you'll get a chance to see this on TV as well. What I'd like to do is just go over quick ground rules, and then right after the ground rules and before the introductions, we're going to have a letter by Mr. Richard Dowd over here, who has to go off to another important meeting. But real quickly, the ground rules are that the candidates are going to have a minute opening remarks, and in general, they will have 1 minute to answer questions. But if there's an important question, I'll take a little bit more time. A moderator up front here will hold up the 30-second sign and so on like that, so just obviously pay attention to that. The questions will rotate with the candidates, so that way everybody gets a chance to start at different times. The candidates will give also a closing statement, and if there's any issues that they'd like to address there, they can do that too. Many questions have been submitted in writing. I also have a couple up my sleeve that I will throw out there. You don't have to worry about applause. We'll do that at the end. And also at 6:30, if you'd like to take up other questions with the candidates, you're welcome to go right out into the lobby, because at 6:45 we have the next round of aldermen that'll be coming in. So 7:45. Thank you very much. My fault. This will be a really quick debate. 7:45, we'll have the next round in. But there'll be a 15-minute break that you'll be able to go out into the lobby if you'd like. And then we're going to hear from candidates today from 6:30 to 7:30 from wards 1. I have letters from Ward 2 and also Mr. Dowd, and then also Ward 6. So with that, what I'd like to do is actually turn it over to Mr. Dowd. I don't want to waste any of his time. I know he's a busy man.
Good evening. Before I start, I just want to say that I want to thank the League of Women Voters for hosting the meeting tonight, as well as the library. Due to aldermanic public hearing on Resolution R23-162, which requires all aldermen to attend, followed by a Board of Aldermen budget meeting, which I chair, I will have to leave right after this meeting. So now, I have devoted 43 years of my life to serving the citizens of Nashua in appointed and elected positions. Services the residents of Ward 2 Nashua need. I will not approve wasteful spending and will ensure that money spent on tax dollars are spent wisely and in the right areas. I'm running for re-election as the Ward 2 Alderman. I have served 6 consecutive terms as the Ward 2 Alderman, and during that time, I have also served as the Board of Aldermen Budget Chair for many years, Chairman of the Joint Special School Building Committee for many years, Vice Chair of Infrastructure, Pennachuck Special Water Committee, and liaison to the Board of Education, Police Department, and Conservation Commission. I have been a member and past president of the Board of Education for 10 years. During my tenure on the Board of Education and the Board of Aldermen, I have been directly involved in the design and construction of Nashua's 2 high schools, the renovation of 8 elementary schools, and I'm now overseeing the middle school project, including the building of the new Brian McCarthy School. All projects were completed on time and under budget. I also served 15 years on the Nashua Airport Authority, where I served as treasurer and chairman. Served 5 years on the Nashua Zoning Board of Adjustment, serving as chairman. And then 10 years on the Board of Education as treasurer, budget chair, and president. I also bring over 33 years' experience as a retired BAE systems engineering manager and a professional logistician responsible for ensuring that very complex military systems were built to last 20 to 30 plus years. I am a logistics subject matter expert, where the experience has helped me to ensure that city acquisitions are fully supportable. I am a former United States naval officer qualified in nuclear submarines and as a surface warfare officer. Nashua is once again selected as the third best run city in America and the safest city in America to live in out of 188 cities across the country. These accolades do not come without the results of your elected officials doing their job. Since the city is so well run, we have been awarded AAA bond ratings by all of the bond services. This keeps the cost of bonds more affordable. I ask for your continued support as the Ward 2 Alderman and ask for your vote on November 7th. Thank you.
Sure. Clap. I mean, that's a statement. That's a statement. You know. That's very appropriate for that. I also have letters, as I mentioned earlier, from Julie Smith and from Tyler. And so what I'd like to do is read those letters real quickly, if I can, before our introductions. First, for Ward 2, we have Julie Smith. And my name is Julie Smith, and I am running for Alderman. I'm a private citizen, and I grew up in Massachusetts suburb of Nashua. Since early childhood, I've been very familiar with Nashua, visually and geographically, and later saw it as a proverbial city on the hill. I made it my goal to both live and work in New Hampshire, particularly Nashua, and have called it home since 1990. I am saddened to observe many symptoms of a city in decline, many of which to be either ignored or denied by the current ruling class. The way COVID was handled by City Hall, both by the elected and unelected, was a real wake-up call that our freedoms are under assault as residents, business people, and consumers. Then on top of that, the December 2022 property tax bill was a real slap in the face to many of us residential property owners, and so began my right-to-know journey with the assessor's office, aided by another Nashua resident more experienced in this matter. In keeping with the guidelines of avoiding personal attacks, let me just say that major changes are desperately needed throughout City Hall. One of my campaign bullet points is transparency, the fullest extent that is lawful. Another is strict financial discipline, fiscal discipline. Government should always be lean and efficient. Governments work to serve we the people, not the other way around. Positive change in City Hall is clearly long overdue, and I ask for your vote so I can be part of the effort to right the ship. And that is Julie's letter. And let's do Tyler Gouvier's letter. Good evening, and everyone, and thank you for being here. I'd like to especially thank the League of Women Voters of New Hampshire for putting this forum on. Unfortunately, I am unable to be here tonight due to a public hearing that requires my attendance at City Hall. I have had the honor to serve as Ward 1 Alderman for the past 2 years, and am running for re-election because I am deeply committed to our community and its future. Over the past 2 years, we have continuously been working on revitalization of Navajo Park to ensure our neighborhoods have the resources needed to thrive. We've also been addressing the smaller projects such as sidewalk repairs, paving, snow removal, berms, speeding, and other projects that have come up. One of the biggest accomplishments I'm most proud of is being a prime sponsor for expanding the elderly tax exemption. It is crucial that we as a city take care of those who have taken care of us. My top 3 priorities, including securing our city investments, champion our first responders in schools, and making sure that Ward 1 is heard and represented well in the aldermanic chamber. I will ensure that city spending is on time and on budget, along with being an unwavering ally for all those in the line of duty and in our schools, and continue to be transparent and open to all my constituents. If you have any questions about policy or how our ward is doing, please do not hesitate to reach out to me by visiting www.gouvierfornashua.com. As your alderman, I will continue to make sure Ward 1 is my #1 and leading the way for the rest of Nashua. I humbly ask for your support on November 7th. Thank you, everyone, for your time. And that is our letter from Tyler. And his ending is an important point as well. Voting is on November 7th. It's a Tuesday. In your regular wards, if you know what ward you're at, it's usually at one of your schools. So certainly, make sure. It's a Tuesday. What else is there to do, right? Nothing better. And if you aren't registered to vote yet, it's the easiest thing in the world to do. In less than 5 minutes, New Hampshire is one of the 8 states, I believe, that allow for same-day voting registration. You can be an up and running registered voter with just an ID and any piece of mail that has your address on it. You'll be all set. And even if you don't have the piece of mail with your address on it, you just swear on an affidavit and you'll be fine. So go register, vote, just get out there and do it. All right, on that note, look at that. We have 3 people up here. And none of them are incumbents. Oh my gosh! We're going to have a lot of fun, ladies and gentlemen. 3 people who are willing to throw their hats in the ring. I'm so excited. Anybody that's willing to do any type of public service has my vote automatically. Let's meet our candidates. We have a minute opening. I'll start with Chris. We'll go to Venjaflutta, and then we'll go to Jim, and then I'll have Chris to open up the floor for us.
Chris Thibodeau. I've lived in Nashua since 2009. My wife, born and raised in Nashua. We've raised our 4 boys here. I ran last year as state representative. I did not win, but I am running as alderman. I'm concerned with the direction of the city and some things I've seen and some of the concerns I've heard from people as I've been going around the neighborhood. A lot of people are concerned about their taxes. There's a lot of people that are elderly that are selling their houses and moving out of the city, and I'd like to be part of the solution to those problems.
Excellent. Thank you. Venjaflutta?
Thank you for having us here this evening. My name is Venjaflutta Kalita Maria Smith. My mom insists that I make sure you know my name. I am running really because one day I just got tired of swearing at the television set. Absolutely. I said I need to get up and get involved and do something. Most of us know what it takes to run an organization, whether it's your PTA, run a school, run a business effectively. And part of that is about communication, accountability, and transparency. And I think what got me the most was in the 10 years that I've lived in Nashua, not once has an alderperson knocked on my door to try to get me to vote. So I was really concerned when I thought about that. Like, I'm not even worthy of your thinking that I might want to vote for you. I might want to know what's going on. In order to get information, I'd have to go to City Hall and read the bulletin board. And we all know that's not the best place to hang out. But that's what I had to do. And so I'm here to make sure that individuals in Ward 6 don't have to go to the bulletin board, that they know that I will keep them informed and that I will represent them myself, because I don't need an ego, I just need my residents of Nashua.
Thank you. Mr. Raven. Jim.
Thank you. My name is Jim Ravan. I'm running as an alderman in Ward 1. Hollis on the north and east. See, I get east and west mixed up. On the east, Amherst Street on the west, and the Nashua River on the south. That's us. I have to echo a comment of I got tired of sitting down and cursing at the television. That's why I'm here. There are 2 ways to look at there are 2 ways to look at our government. We can either look forward or we can look back. And I'm going to look forward and solve the problems for the city. And I hope to have your vote. Thank you.
Excellent. Well, let me start piggybacking on many of your comments, and I'll start with you, Mr. Ravan, and we'll work down. Queen for a day. You've all addressed issues that you're like, I want to get fixed. Tell me some of these specifics. Like, if you were king for a day, Mr. Ravan, what issues would you fix tomorrow and same for our other candidates?
Oh boy. Here's one I don't think is on very many people's radar, but I think it's A, hard, and B, needs to be addressed. It's fear. That is, as I've gone around canvassing this season, a lot of people have said, no, I can't put your sign in my yard because I'm afraid. And that's important. We should not be afraid to express our political opinions. And what that requires is communication. That is, we need to all get in a lot of rooms together and start talking about the issues and start coming up with solutions for all of us, not just some of us.
Excellent. Ms. Smith?
One of the things that I was very surprised by and had an opportunity to step into some of these issues were individuals want their sidewalks fixed. I mean, we're paying taxes, and people are like, I knock on the door, they're like, yeah, let me show you this. There are holes in the sidewalks, there's bumps in the streets, and myself, wearing high heels, and I am a senior, I don't want to fall either. So, I think it's really important that we make sure that individuals are held accountable and that we go back to the basics. People pay taxes and expect to get something in return. And something as simple as making sure that the safe walks and streets are safe is a basic. So that's one of the things, if I was queen for a day, everyone would have a smooth sidewalk.
Yes, sir. Mr. Thibodeau?
All right. If I were king for a day, the three things I find the most concerning in the town are going to be affordable housing, the homelessness, the increasing homelessness issues, and the tax rates. Now, what I do not know is how, but those are the things that I'm more concerned about and that I would focus on.
Okay, excellent. Ms. Smith, let me start with you and we'll work our way around. Mr. Thibodeau brings up the issue of homelessness, and that does seem to be an issue. Is there any ideas that you might have that are short-term or long-term to maybe address this problem that has obviously crept into the city? And same question for all three.
As many of us know, it's a very complex problem. Unfortunately for many of the former residents and even current residents who are in some of these places who found themselves homeless, it's a result of them not being able to find housing based on their income. So they can no longer afford to live here. The individuals who are in find themselves in this state, most of them are working. But they just cannot afford housing. So one of the things I think we need to look at is having some income-based housing to try to figure out how did individuals get to this particular state, provide an opportunity for them to lift themselves back up. Because when you are working within, the city of Nashua or anywhere within the United States, you should be making a living wage so that you are able to pay for a roof over your head.
Thank you. Mr. Thibodeau?
Could you repeat the question?
Do you have any ideas for either short-term or long-term visions for addressing the homeless problem?
Short-term or long-term visions? A shelter is obviously the first step to get out of the rain or out of the elements. But other than that, from my experience and my research, what I found is that the majority of it is more of there's some mental issues, there's addiction issues, and so those are more the driving factors that I've seen, and not necessarily affordable housing, although that is a point of concern. So step one is getting a roof over their heads, temporary or long-term, and then finding a solution to get them help, the ones that need it. And unfortunately, we have people who don't want the help, even when it's available. So that's a challenge in its own.
Thank you. Mr. Vivan?
It's called homelessness for a reason. That is, it's rooted in the fact that they don't have a place to live. But that's only the beginning of the issues. That is, once they have a place to live, then they would like to have a job because the living there is not going to be free. So it's housing, and then they need a job. But some people can't get a job without getting also child care. So there's homelessness, there's homelessness, there's a job, there's child care, and some people can't get a job that will pay them to live affordably where they can live, and that means they need education. So give them a home, find them a job, give them child care, and get them educated. It's a difficult problem, but I think we can tackle it. I think we can do it all.
Excellent. The next question will go to Mr. Thibodeau, and this will fall three of you, and we'll go that way. Sears being closed now, there's opportunity to have a casino come into the Pheasant Lane Mall. Thoughts on that? In favor, opposed?
I'm kind of undecided at the moment. I have on occasion gone down to Connecticut and spent my money down there, and what I don't know is I don't know if South End of Nashua is the right place for it. With it comes potential of many other issues. So if it came, I think it needs a lot of preparation work needs to be done to ensure that it would be successful and have as minimal of a negative impact on the community as possible.
Mr. Raven.
My wife and I go to the Lucky Moose. We don't go to gamble. It's a nice restaurant. It's a good place to have some good food. So we sit there with all the lights blinking and everything and say, gee, isn't this kind of nice? And we eat the good food and then we leave. So not only is the place at Sears going to be a place for people to gamble, it's also going to be a place for them to have other kinds of recreation, to eat, and most importantly, to bring the taxes, the business taxes, into the city. And that's one of the forks that we use to lower our own personal property taxes, is to increase business taxes in the city. So I'm for it.
And if there was a Krispy Kreme next door, that wouldn't hurt either, right? Oh. No. Well, Ms. Smith, you're the deciding vote here. We've got 1 for and 1 against.
Okay. Well, the educator in me is going to say, you know what, I actually need to get more information regarding this, because I feel like as of right now, if we're looking at what our community needs and what the residents would want, we actually have a couple of casinos in the area. Not that I've been to both of them, but just saying, I know they exist. And I think it might be an opportunity for actually to look at that space and think about what is it that the community in the city needs. And I don't necessarily believe that we need another casino. Nashua has great restaurants, within our wards, within the downtown area. I don't think we need another casino. I think we need to look at perhaps revitalizing the mall or looking at another way to use that space in a way that would benefit us in the long term.
Perfect, thank you. So I'm going to piggyback on your question, and I think Chris was the last one to go, correct? So we'll go down to Jim if we can. So you were talking about what Nashua needs. Well, let's look at your wards. Jim, you're in Ward 1, and Ms. Smith and Mr. Thibodeau are in Ward 6. So you're living in a ward that you said earlier is surrounded, you've got Hollis on your border. Does that influence your ideas about your vision for your ward? And also, what do you think are things that your ward needs?
No, Hollis doesn't affect the way I think about my ward. We're actually pretty lucky in Ward 1. We have Nashua North, we have Broad Street Elementary, and we have Birch Hill School. One thing that my mom always drilled into me was education. Without an education, you're at a disadvantage. And so we are, in Nashua in general, very blessed with a good educational system. And I want to make sure that that continues to be the case. And Birch Hill is being renovated, and I'm very glad to see that happen. I have one little thing that I want fixed right beside my house, because there's a hill down by our house that basically got filled with a bunch of rocks that the kids used to go to walk to school. Now they can't. I want to get that fixed. Kids need to get to school. Thanks.
Fantastic. Now, Ms. Smith, in your opening statement, you did already talk about the sidewalks. So what other things do you think in Ward 6 would be of concern that you think need to be addressed?
Yeah, as I've been out knocking on doors and getting to meet the residents, for the most part, individuals are definitely concerned about the fact that there's not enough housing, not enough rental properties, and even at this point, for the few newer buildings that have been built or new homes, basically by the time they're halfway built, they're already sold. So I think for us to look for opportunities for us to expand our great ward and our communities with more housing, that would be something that individuals are interested in. That's what has been shared with me. And I think I'd like to look at what are the opportunities and where are the potential locations where there could be additional housing or homes.
Fantastic. Thank you, Mr. Thibodeau.
From walking around the neighborhood, I mean, sidewalks has already been brought up, and the housing issues, those are the things I'm hearing about from the citizens, and back to the taxes, and then those are the three things that are the things I'm hearing most about.
Okay, well, obviously, let me piggyback on these then. With these new houses would obviously, property taxes. Are there areas that, obviously Nashua got creamed in property taxes. Are there any areas of focus that you could look at to maybe reduce property taxes? And I'll go with Ms. Smith and we'll go that way.
I'm not sure if we could reduce them. The reality is that, you know, post-COVID or whatever, things are just escalating. The cost of everything has gone up. And there is a reality for most of us, whether you go to the supermarket or you're in the mall, whatever you're shopping, the price of things have gone up. And I think what we want to do is make sure that our communities are educated about why we are spending. If taxes are going up, what are we doing with the tax money? Nothing is really free. You know, we want good roads, we want good housing, we want the best teachers, we want to support our firemen and our police officers. That takes money. And that means that sometimes that we have to pay a little bit more in taxes. And I think if we make sure that our community members are well informed and that they are getting the best for their tax dollar, they won't be as concerned. Of course, no one wants the cost of anything to go up, but when we know where that money is going and we can support that decision, then we're good with that.
Mr. Thibodeau.
I agree. I think knowing where the taxes are going is the utmost importance, and I think people are just, they get concerned and they start building stories when they can't see where the money's going. And especially if your particular neighborhood has bad sidewalks that just don't appear to be getting focused on, and maybe you drive down through Concord Street and you're always seeing that Concord Street is nice and neat, the sidewalks are great, but you go to Ward 6 and the sidewalks, the cement is crumbling. Half of them are tar paved and half of them are cement. So I think it's important for people to just be able to see where that money's going. I don't have a solution to it, but it's a team process, and I'd like to be part of the team.
Excellent, thank you. Mr. Raven.
This, if there's a real hard problem, this is a real hard problem, because I do agree, we all want our taxes to go down, but I think if we're realistic, we don't want them to go up, because they probably won't go down. And if that's the case, then yes, we need to know where they're going, but also we can bolster the business tax base, and thank you, bolster the business tax base and have essentially a cushion so that they won't go up as fast or they won't go up as much if they do have to go up. In other words, I want to attract businesses to the area so that we have an increased business tax revenue coming in that will allow some relief on the pressure that we all feel on our current housing. Thank you. Taxes.
Thank you. Well, it is 7 o'clock, so that means it's our most important question of the night. So who did I start with Mrs. Smith last time? Mr. Thibodeau, what is your go-to pizza place in Nashua, New Hampshire?
My go-to, believe it or not, I love the Market Kitchen. I like the pizza at Market Basket.
Perfect.
I love it.
Okay, Mr. Vervan.
This is a tough one.
I know.
My wife was born and raised on Manhattan, so she's got it's got to be this way. But we usually go to Christopher's.
Fantastic. Ms. Smith.
Nashua House of Pizza, the eggplant parmesan. I'm like, oh my God, it's heaven. And if I've been a really good girl, spinach. The spinach pizza, I'm just saying.
This is not a public advertisement, but I'm just saying.
Wink, wink, not, open to a discount.
Fantastic, thank you. So we are talking about housing and issues and such, and obviously Elm Street is closing down. Do you have any vision for what to do with that property? Oh, and actually before I get to that property, this is for Ward 6, either of you. One of the questions from the audience was, do you have any update on what's happening with the Holiday Inn property? Do you have any idea of what's going on with that property?
Just from what I've seen online, I think Porsche is no longer moving in there from what I've seen, but they've already torn down the building, so at the moment it's an open lot still. I don't know, that's only what I've read, but I definitely know.
Okay, I just figured
baseball or anything.
it was a question from the audience. I figured.
Oh, okay.
So about the Elm Street, like would affordable housing be there? There's also been talk about Rivier College putting a skating rink in there as well. What would you like to do? And I'll start with Mr. Thibodeau, and we'll work our way around.
I'm assuming that's the old school, yes?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I mean, something that would benefit that area, the neighborhood, would be great. Something to get more traffic into the area would be great. I know in the Seminole Plaza, there's a trampoline park in there now, so I mean, there's some more things for the neighborhood, for people that are in walking distance, which is great. So people don't have to feel like they have to go to the other side of town. Never really thought about a skating rink, but I guess that would work. Yeah, I could. Another apartment building, housing, I don't know.
Okay.
I don't have a good idea.
Not a problem. Mr. Raven?
My wife and I are very involved in the arts, and that auditorium is used by the actor singers. And I was a director for the actor singers in the 90s. I don't want to see that building, that auditorium, be torn down because it's an asset to the city. And I want to see it renovated. I would love to see Revere to become a co-tenant there. But I want us to keep that auditorium up and usable, especially because the current community arts organizations don't really have good access to the existing Performing Arts Center. So if we can use that auditorium as a place for community arts, that would be a good asset to keep.
Thank you. Ms. Smith?
I mean, one of the things that I'm concerned about is the fact that I love the new Arts Center, without saying, been there several times. But I'm greatly concerned that, unfortunately, we were not able to build something large enough to hold our own symphony. And one of the things that does happen over at the other space is that it's a place that's large enough to hold the symphony. So I would appreciate if we had an opportunity to do some evaluation to find out what would be the cost of renovation or bringing something up to today's standards, so that we could utilize that space for the community arts, as well as a place that we could go see and hear the New Hampshire Symphony. Because we need to have a place that's large enough for them to perform. At this point in time, if they're not there, if they're at the Art Center, we can't have the entire symphony. And there's nothing like live music and hearing the entire symphony. So I would like for us to consider revitalizing that place and making that the home for the symphony.
Excellent. So to piggyback, obviously symphonies and evenings out is what brings money to the town. Are there any ideas that you have for economic development that you would like to put forward if you become an alderman, or to maybe try to help generate some of these ideas? And Ms. Smith, I guess I'll start with you because I started that way.
I think, as you brought up earlier, the Sears building, I think for us to do something where we could attract some new businesses. I think if there was a business that would go in there that would employ more residents, perhaps whether it's some small manufacturer or something like that, I think that would be great use of that space. I'm not sure what industry. I would like for it to be something more than retail, but if there's a possibility that there could be something placed there that would generate income and be able to benefit the city, that would be a plan that I would want to review, as well as to get feedback and input from the community residents, because anything that's being placed in our neighborhoods and in our communities, everyone should have some voice about that and have as much information as possible before we take action.
Thank you. Mr. Thibodeau. Speaking about trying to bring money to the city of Nashua, is there any ideas that you might have that might help generate some income to the city if on the board?
No.
Okay.
No, I really don't at the moment.
Not a problem. Mr. Raven.
Okay, there's an elephant in the room. It's commuter rail. That is, if we bring, or if the MBTA brings rail from Lowell to Nashua, everybody thinks, well, yeah, okay, some people will go to Lowell and maybe they'll go to Boston. But I think we're thinking about that from our point of view, from the Massachusetts point of view. We are a destination to go to spend money. And if we develop the commuter rail system, they will come. If we build it, they will come.
Okay. Mr. Raven, you've been looking at my notes because that's my next question actually is about the commuter rail. So obviously you're a supporter of the commuter rail. So I'm just going to skip. My train's going to go past you and go to the next station here if I can. Ms. Smith, what do you think about the commuter rail?
I think, once again, if we build it, they will come. I think anything that would bring additional commerce to the city, something that we should consider, as well as the benefit for us. I am one of those individuals looking forward to retirement, who has to get up in the morning and every now and then I have to drive into Boston. It is not a fun or pleasant drive, especially once I leave the New Hampshire part of the highway. I would be looking forward to actually using something like that as I would commute back and forth. It would also provide opportunities for me to go, to catch a game or something like that. So that would be a benefit to us to not have to drive all the way in and out if there was something that we wanted to see in Boston. And likewise, we definitely could use those Massachusetts dollars right here to expand our own incomes.
Excellent, thank you. Mr. Thibodeau.
From the research that I've done thus far, it does not look, to me, it does not look like a benefit to the city. It looks like a huge expense, and I would definitely need to do more research, and something I would definitely want to be part of any committee that starts approaching that subject. But I am not for it at the moment. I'm open to it, but at the moment I'm not open to, not supporting it, but I definitely want to do more research. I just don't think it's a great idea. I don't know what it would get the utilization that would be required to make it a benefit to the city versus a burden to the city.
Excellent, thank you. Mr. Raven, I'm going to go with you because I didn't start you off because of the commuter rail question. Nashua has been designated as a welcoming community. Thoughts on that? Do you think it's helped or hurt the community? And I'll go down the line.
Having Nashua, a welcoming community, can never hurt us. That is it, and honestly, I firmly believe this. I moved to Nashua in 1980. I can remember when I could drive down what now is the Five Guys intersection and go all the way to Pinchuk Square and maybe hit one more light, and now there's a bunch there. But the reason that all that development happened is because we are a welcoming community. Businesses won't be attracted here if A, there isn't an economic benefit, and B, there aren't people who want to live here and work here, and we all do. That's why we're here. So yeah, a welcoming community, I'm glad.
Ms. Smith, your thoughts?
I'm pleased to know that individuals consider us a welcoming community. I found it to be a welcoming community when I came here about 10 or 12 years ago. But I think we could do better because unfortunately there's a level or lack of civility, or individuals are using language that concerns me where we're not welcoming to all. And I think we should be welcoming to all that would like to come and shop in or visit. And we can do that by, addressing some of the issues that have to do around housing and thinking about the language that we use. Not everyone is a drug addict or something like that. And I think it's really inappropriate when there are individuals who are quick to jump or name call. Not that I've heard a lot of it, but we could be a little bit better about being welcoming to all individuals, all communities, all faiths, all peoples, all Nashuas. We could do better.
Thank you. Mr. Thibodeau.
I think it's a very welcoming community. I think it's a welcoming city. One of the reasons I moved here. Yeah.
Fantastic. All right, I'm going to start with you and I'm going to work my way down. Mr. Raven, in his opening statement, talked about the fear people might have about, displaying any type of partisanship and so on like that. Obviously, we are in a society where keyboard warriors go nuts and social media is at a craze and people are becoming a little more polarized. If elected to the Board of Aldermen, how would you work with people to try to break down those types of barriers?
When your constituents elect you to an office that's more than a single person, you have to work as a team, whether you're in Congress, in the Senate, or at the Board of Aldermen or the Board of Education. It doesn't matter. So, you need to work together. Otherwise, we've seen on TV that, nothing gets done. So you have to work together. So I have no problem working across the aisle
So you can play nice in the sandbox.
I can play nice in the sandbox.
Excellent. Ms. Smith.
I spent 15 years in high tech. Some of the teams were large. One of them spanned the globe. You learn when teams are that big that you have to work together to get it done, and that skill set. I'll say I can show you the scars, but it's a hard-won skill to have. Nobody gets anything done by saying no. And the question is, how do you get to yes, or how do you at least get to okay? And that's enough. We only get to okay. And that's what I'd work to do. I want to get to yes, I'll take okay, and that'll be fine.
Thank you. Ms. Smith.
One of the scariest times of my life was the year I substituted for a kindergarten teacher. I learned a lot about survival, and I think what we need to do is return to common sense, civility, and courageousness, and just being courtesy, and just being kind. Because everything we really do need to know, we learned in kindergarten. And unfortunately, too many people have been out of kindergarten too long, and that's why we've got some significant problems. So I think everyone should be required to go back and do one course of kindergarten again, so that they can learn how to be kind and to treat everyone with dignity and respect. We're going to be different. We're going to disagree. Why you don't like Nashua House of Pizza, I don't know, but I love you anyway. But I think that's what we need. I think sometimes you got to call it out and try and have a conversation. And if you're dealing with someone who's ignorant, unfortunately, that's why we have education. Educate individuals to reduce some of the ignorance in our society.
Thank you. I can honestly attest, as a high school teacher, I had that poster, Everything You Needed to Know You Learned in Kindergarten, on my wall, and my students, that was the best poster in my classroom. That was the one that they appreciated and pointed to over and over when somebody did something like, hey, look, so don't run with the scissors, and share cookies. Oh my gosh, it's 7:15. That's another crazy question moment. If you had to say to a friend that has never been to Nashua something that you were most proud of, I'm proud of Nashua because ... Please fill in the sentence, Mr. Thibodeau, and we'll work our way down.
My favorite place in not only Nashua, but really in New Hampshire, is Mines Falls Park. I love Mines Falls Park. I love it. I don't go in the snow. I don't snowshoe. I don't cross-country ski, but I love Mines Falls Park. It's my favorite place in the city.
Thank you. Ms. Smith.
I think one of the things I love about the city is that there's lots of opportunities to go and do things. When my family members come to visit me, we hang out on Main Street at the restaurants. We can go shopping locally. If we just want to take a walk, we can go walking. And I think just the fact that it is a combination of so many different communities. Not all the wards are different. Within the wards, all the neighborhoods are different. So there's an opportunity to really enjoy and get to know just people who are just wanting to live their best lives. And when I'm here and I have company, we just go out and we love Nashua.
Thank you. Mr. Ravan.
This one actually is pretty easy. It's a summer night at the Silver Knights games in Holman Stadium. There is nothing better. That's just one of those things that only happens here, and we love it.
Fantastic. Sorry, looking at the enrollments that are down in our public schools currently, are you in favor, or do you believe that consideration should be given to any type of consolidation to these schools? And actually, I'll start with Mr. Ravan and come down.
Oh, this is not an easy question, because we're talking about the lives of the students that are in those buildings now and the communities that are formed around those buildings now. And that's important to a young student. It's extremely important. So my first inclination is no, those children need to stay where they are and have a stable environment in which they can learn. My second adult question is, what if the building they're in isn't viable? And those two things have to be weighed. But I will first always lean toward the kids and the teachers that are there.
Thank you. Ms. Smith?
As someone who at one point in my life was bused to school, I think all children need to have an opportunity to be able to walk to the school that is closest to them in their neighborhood and to have that choice and that option. I think Nashua has some outstanding schools, some of them with so much history that if there's an opportunity for us to look at how do we better develop it or look at the infrastructure, once again, if there's something that needs to be upgraded, kind of do a check around our population to trying to determine why are the numbers going down. Maybe we have people go out to dinner more and have a glass of wine so we could have more children. I'm just saying. But we need to look at, different things and find out what's the need of the community. Yeah, if there are not enough students to fill the classrooms, that's an issue, but that doesn't mean that we necessarily need to close the school. Maybe we look at other ways, whether it's adult education or look at other additional programs that can attract more families and more individuals to our schools, because we do have outstanding educators, and that's what I would want to do.
Thank you. Mr. Thibodeau?
I am for closing specifically Mount Pleasant if it's deemed that it's the right thing to do. I know during the mayoral debate, one of the things Mr. Donchis brought up was the fact that with all the new housing, we don't know what's going to happen yet, which is a valid point. So it wouldn't make sense to close it and then have a huge influx of families with a lot of children moving into that area. So it doesn't make a lot of sense if that were to happen. But if a school is being underutilized and the schools are being multiple schools are being underutilized, then it makes sense to consolidate them and utilize them for something other that is beneficial. The other thing with Mount Pleasant is there's another school within 2 minutes of walking that they could get to. I get the nostalgia part, but unfortunately some things need to make sense too financially.
Okay, thank you. And I'll start with Ms. Smith. This will be our last question before we do our closings, actually. What role do you believe city government plays in helping to protect its most vulnerable citizens, including children, homeless, elderly, the disabled, victims of domestic violence? What is a way you can think of that the city of Nashua could do a better job, and how would you help achieve this if you were an alderman?
I think definitely our city's government plays an important role. One of the things I think about is, just public health in general. I know for myself, I thought we did a pretty good job of addressing the issue of COVID once everyone got information regarding that. It was pretty easy for individuals who wanted to get a vaccine to go out and to get that and take care of themselves. So I see that as being something valuable and something that the public health department made happen. I think we could do a lot more as we look at some of our aging communities and some of the housing units that individuals are staying in. We could do a lot more by looking at and maintaining those communities. We have several long-term, residential care programs or senior housing units that are outstanding, and I'd like for us to make sure that we maintain those as positive communities and to make sure we keep everyone safe. So I think we could always do a little bit more. There would need to be a little bit more research to determine what would be the one best thing. But I think as long as we do a study, we do some strategic planning, and once again, involve the residents and communities in whatever decision we make about spending.
Thank you. Mr. Thibodeau?
You read that one more.
Sure. One of the questions is like the role that the city government has in protecting the most vulnerable people, including the children, the homeless, disabled, veterans, victims of domestic violence. Is there a way that you think Nashua could do a better job?
To do a better job, I am not aware fully of all the opportunities there are for families that are in distress or children. I don't know what those programs that exist. Absolutely, we need to have strong programs that are for children, women that are in situations that they can't control, situations that are beyond their control, that put their lives in danger. Elderly, again, the people I've talked to with the elderly moving out, I don't know if there are benefits given to elderly taxpayers to reduce their taxes. Maybe that could be looked at to bring that down further. If they've worked their entire life for this house, everybody's goal is to pay that darn thing off, and then all of a sudden you keep getting whacked with larger tax bills and you're trying to, survive. So I don't know if we can make special accommodations for that, or advance on ones that exist. Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Ravan.
Okay. I have, when I canvass, I walk around with this little book. And when I say, and do you have any issues that you would like to tell me about? And then I write them down. And I've got an issue of a disabled veteran who's 100% disabled, who can't live in his house anymore because he can't afford it. And he's going to have to move to Hudson so he can live on his own still. That kind of thing needs to get fixed. People who can't afford to live here when they're in that much distress, we need to be able to, government is the last backstop to keep people like that here in their homes, and that we need to work on.
Thank you very much. At this point, we are going to have our closing statements, and as I said earlier, if there's a topic or an issue that you would like to address, this will be an appropriate time for you to do that. I started with Mr. Ravan. I'm going to start with Mr. Thibodeau, and we'll work our way back to him.
Yeah, like I said, I want to be part of the solution to whatever the issues are in Nashua for the constituents, specifically Ward 6. I think it's a team issue, and I'd like to be part of that team. In the end, I want common sense spending. I want a government that makes sense, and more often than not, we get a government, not just Nashua, but everywhere, that most of the time just doesn't make sense. So I like common sense, I want smart spending, and I want people to be happy and thrive, and everybody to be great.
Thank you very much, sir. Ms. Smith.
One of the things that I think about is that this will be an awesome opportunity, should I be elected on Tuesday, November the 7th, to truly represent all the residents and all the communities in my ward. Like I said, one of the things that made me get up off the sofa and say, you know what, I got to do something, was the fact that no one even thought that I was valuable enough to ask for my vote. No one even thought to come and inform me. I had to go out and get this information. And I think when you are the representative for the ward, you should be representing those individuals. So for me, making sure I know what the many communities and the many individuals in the ward want, and that when I'm at meetings and I'm part of the board, that I can reflect their thoughts, their ideas, their opinions, and that they will know they are represented. Every now and then, I might be a little part of that because I am a resident of the ward. But I think it's really important to make sure that it's not about me, but it's about the community.
I think you could sort of feel it in the wind these days, that there are choices to be made, and they're important. This is a choice about looking forward to the future and to a prosperous future, or looking backwards. And honestly, I want to be on part of the team that looks forward to the future of Nashua, to make it prosperous, to make it welcoming, and to make it that wonderful experience on a Friday fireworks night at Holman Stadium. There is nothing better, and that's the choice. This is the largest small town I've ever lived in, and I love it here. Thank you.
Thank you. And at this time, let's give our three people a round of applause. In closing, I would like to say thank you to all three candidates that showed up tonight and gave their opinions and their voices. Hopefully this is helping you as a person who is considering your choice by getting to know them. We want to thank you from the League of Women Voters for being part of tonight and being part of our forum. If there's any other questions that you would like to talk about with any of the candidates, take it outside. No, you may, in the lobby, they will be certainly willing to hang around for a few minutes and chat with anybody who'd like to go out there and maybe follow up on anything that wasn't asked tonight. We want to thank you. We wish you the best of luck. November 7th, please, it's a Tuesday. Please come out to vote. Your vote does count and it does matter. So thank you so much. We hope to see you at the polls. Take care.